Hello, Cousin Johnny here. We'd like to thank our sponsors for the Buzzin' with Cousins show. We thank you. Thank you, that garlic stuff. If you like garlic, you're going to love it. Put it on just about anything. That garlic stuff. Tuesday, Alvarado Farmers Market, or go to thatgarlicstuff.com. Thank you. Thank you, Art. I Heart You Candles, located right in front of Fisherman's Wharf. Beautiful hand poured candles. These are very inspirational candles. Call Sherry at 574-9446, right in front of Fisherman's Wharf. They're great. Thank you, Max Fit Meals, 520 Fremont Street. Grab and go healthy meals. They're delish. On your way from home from work, go grab some, heat them up, and fantastic. Thank you, Suds Cyber Laundry, 709 Lighthouse, Pacific Grove. Great modern machines, big screen TV, coffee, and a great friendly staff. Thank you, Suds. Thank you, the Whiskey Club, 425 Alvarado Street. Over 400 whiskeys to choose from. Go in, relax, have a drink. They have a bottle shop. They have room for special events. The Whiskey Club, thank you. Thank you, storyteller, author, and all-around good guy, Tony Albano. Tony has written 3 books, the latest being Cherish, about a New York teenager and a nun find love. Thank you, Tony. And if you want to order the book or find out more about Tony, go to Tony, Tony, Albano, Albano, storyteller.com. Check it out. Thank you. Thank you, sponsors, for the Buzzin' with Cousins show. We thank you. Hello, how's everybody doing out there? Cousin Johnny here, bringing you another show on this beautiful Monterey Peninsula. I'm so excited about this guest that I have. I've been trying to get her on here for a few months, and I finally did. And if you're into music or entertainment, you've probably read her column many times. For 30 plus years, she's been here, writing in the community here about art, music, right here in Monterey Peninsula. So I'm so proud to have her on. Please welcome Beth Peerless. Beth.
Hi there.
Thank you for coming on the show. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good considering.
You had a birthday, and we seen the photos, and it looked good, and looks like everybody was having a good time.
Yeah, a lot of fun. And what I'm just really appreciative of is the love that I have with my friends, but also with the community. It's been really gratifying to have that support, and I appreciate it. And I've always wanted to do the best I can to reflect what that means in our community when I write, because it's a big deal here.
Yeah. We'd like to let me thank you for what you've done over 30 plus years here in the Monterey Peninsula, writing about the music scene and the entertainment scene. It's like everybody's always looking forward to Beth Peerless's column. So, and you do a lot of things for the community. So we thank you for that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And you're welcome for all of it. And and I know that's kind of the same that what you're doing. You and other friends of mine that will do these shows, or whether they're doing radio or newspaper, when it comes down to it, it's a job. From, like in my case, this is work. I went to school, got a degree, worked my way up in the field, and Yeah, and I'm hanging in there just, because it's what I love doing, and I have, the income need and all of that. So
Yeah,
it's, it's what I had goals to do, and I achieved those goals, and I've reached this level at this point. And, I see it as kind of like, for hoping for a few more good years with the newspaper, the Monterey Herald,
yeah,
because everybody has witnessed how journalism has had a shrinking effect. And it's not just the Herald, it's all across the nation and the world, and on our local community level, the same. But the Herald's really the most visually shrunk in my estimation, right? So I'm really glad, along with a few other writers that are there, that we have a local voice still.
yes, yes, you do. Yes,
Yeah, and you know what I do um, appreciate and bring to the table from my perspective is that I have lived here since before high school. Moved here from the Bay Area in
okay.
1967, and a lot of things going on up in the Bay Area right about that time. So it sort of, when we came here, it shifted for me to sort of get in with the alternative hippie culture, as it would be. So kind of grew up, but I was always a music loving girl. Early on, learned the piano starting at 8, and I still, well, I haven't recently, but I just got a new keyboard that I'm going to work on.
Oh, man, all right,
Yeah,
great.
yeah. So I had a lot of years of studying piano, did a period of classical, and then popular music and some other things too, and majored in music at Monterey Peninsula College in the 70s, as well as following with my love of photography that started in high school at
Yeah,
Monterey.
I noticed your photography. You're a really great photographer, and that's a lot. A lot of people don't know that about you. I don't think.
Yeah, because I don't push that. It's not, like say on Facebook, there's the photography clubs or the pages and stuff. And I just choose to do my own page as my story. So
Yeah,
I just sort of do that. But because of all this history now with the music writing, I shifted from doing art and, stuff. Black and white was what I was doing originally, because
yeah,
we have a long history here of black and white photography. So I followed that path. But, I became a concert photographer, and I have a huge portfolio of those photos that I'd like to get together. I just haven't found the motivation or the energy, but I have a website already established, but
really, I'd like to see it.
yeah, it's inactive right now, so it's not actually happening, but I've been paying the fees to keep it alive for years now, because I did it when I had a year or two off from the Herald, that when there was these changes going on. So I decided to go ahead and put together a website, and I was going to do blog and photography.
Yeah,
Um,
and so you went to when you were here in Monterey. You just you went to school for journalism. Now, did you were you like the uh, writing in like the school newspaper, and you said this is what something I want to do, or
well, so for me, in the background in the writing was, originally when I went into the journalism field, I wanted to be a photojournalist because photography was my thing. But I was also writing and I was journaling just on my own on a personal level. So I started to write regularly. I'll tell you this though, and it was Henry Miller who was, one of the main influences for me to want to write. I
yes,
read his book Big Sur and the Oranges of Hieronymus Bosch, and I was so taken by his ability to, hone in on some really deep thought processes and how he got there. And then, bingo, you're like, wow, that's really cool. So I started to practice, and then it was at a time that I was going through some changes because I was married at the time.
yeah,
My maiden name is Weiler, and I married Chris Peerless. So he and I were having our ups and downs at the time, and I thought, I need to get a a career rather than just a job. I had years of waiting tables around town or around the county, really, and then I worked in picture framing. So when I got into the writing, I actually, my first published piece was in the Herald, and it was about my experiences coming to town and going to the Monterey Pop Festival.
Oh, yes. Now that's great.
Yeah, it's interesting story because it was the weekend that we moved here. And my brother, who's a couple of years older than me, he's no longer with us, but he, at the time, was here for the whole weekend with a friend. And when I arrived Sunday with my parents, he took me out to the fairgrounds. I was 13 years old, wasn't driving. So he brought me out there, and that I was there at the evening concert. And so I wrote my recollections and experiences and submitted it to the Herald, and they published it with a group that was for the 20th anniversary of the Pop Festival. So that was my first published piece. So, but that was all before I finished up my college work. I started at MPC, decided, okay, I'm going to get serious about this. I need to do all the required courses. So I followed the AA requirements, but I was also in the journalism program and then studying the Spanish language. So I went through the whole Spanish program. I finished the requirements for journalism, and I transferred to San Diego State and lived 2 years down there and finished up my degree program. And I considered staying there, but then I saw that the Coast Weekly, it was Coast Weekly at the time, had a position as an intern. I thought, there was a couple of reasons, and I won't go into it, but I decided to come back. And so I worked at the Weekly. And right off the bat, they gave me the position as a music writer. Now at school, at San Diego, when in the program, I wanted to work at the school newspaper. So when I applied, I wanted to be a photographer, but there was no photography positions available. So the last editorial writing position was in the science department. And so I was like, I got my first publications at school writing about black holes and ecology type things. And so, I just didn't know where I was going to go with it. I did not plan to be an entertainment writer. It just sort of happened because I had the background in music. And I'd been a concert going, I saw the Beatles. I was at the Mount Tam Festival. I was at Monterey Pop. I went to Altamont. All those things that were milestones in the rock and roll world, right? So it just became a natural fit. And I didn't stay long with them. And that I won't go into the details on that because it was due to some interactions that I didn't like. And I decided, I don't want to be here. So I quit, and I ended up getting a job, and I went out of the journalism world as a writer and went to work in marketing. I became a marketing assistant at the Barnyard, and then I was public relations manager at Thunderbird Bookshop for about 7 years. So, and then the Weekly hired me back as a music writer, and I was there for 3 or 4 years, and then it got to be friends with Mac because we were on the same beat, Mac McDonald.
What a dream team that was when you guys were together.
It was the best. It was so cool. And, journalism was still alive and healthy. Mac was an editor. He hired me to come to the Herald. I quit the Weekly to do that because I was excited about taking the Santa Cruz beat, where I was able to go up and cover Santa Cruz.
Yeah, you had a stint at the Good Times.
I did that too, but I had a column called Cruisin' for the Monterey Herald.
Yeah.
And so I ended up moving up to Ben Lomond. A friend of mine lived up there, and I moved in on her property. And so those were the golden years for me. I've said this to other people, how much I enjoyed being able to have a small little cabin. It's kind of like, oh yeah, I was a little hippie chick once upon a time, and now I live the dream. I had my cabin in the woods, wood burning stove. I was, crocheting, making jewelry, playing
guitar, life is good.
Going out to shows all the time. It was great. And and things started to to get a little wonky family wise, and I won't go into all the details there, but I stayed working up on that beat until Mac needed to cut back on the pages that the newspaper was using. They didn't want to pay so much, so they took away the cruising column. I kept writing because I was always writing features at the same time, and yeah, Mac and I were the dream team. He
really
had the Monterey thing down. He was loved, and we covered the festivals really extensively. It was super cool. And then he allowed me to go up to San Francisco and cover events up there. And I would have that in the Herald, so I would do photo stories and reviews of SF Jazz and or Outside Lands. And just this morning, I had an interview with Kurt Vile, who's going to be at the Rebels and Renegades Festival.
Okay, yeah, but that's
a new one, our second year with that one. And I saw him up at the Outside Lands. And so we had a chat about all that. He's also played down here with Britt Govia and Folk at his shows down in Big Sur. So
yeah,
he's he's aware and a part of the local community here. So that's kind of the story. Then there's the 2 years that I was completely off, and that's when the website started. But then Mac was another casualty of the newspaper not wanting to pay full benefits to the editors and those that were full time. So after he got a great package. Actually, we just visited. I just went down and visit with him and Beth.
Yeah, I saw the photo. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was saying, how well he, the timing was right for him, and he managed well in leaving. And so Jeannie Evers was the editor after, and she asked me to come and write the column for Monterey. So then there I was again writing Monterey column, and it was a transition because again, everybody missed Mac, and I missed him too, but my job as a journalist just the same, and I was provided and offered a job, and I took it. So I'm really happy that I'm still hanging in here.
Yeah. You just did a nice article on the jazz festival about a Monterey resident that's going to be playing at the main stage.
Yeah, well, he's not on the stage. Zach Westfield quartet, and they'll be on the courtyard stage, which is the small stage.
But that's great. Congratulations to him.
I know. I'm so pleased. And, Jesse DiCarlo, who is Paul Goldman's son and a really fine guitarist. He plays with Cindy Alexander, and he had the Danny Page and a lot of things going on. And he's a producer. He's the one who's working with Zach to do the recording. He has a new CD called Zach Westfield Quartet Live at Pearl Hour. And Jesse did the producing. So Jesse, being a close friend, gave me the tip about a month or two ago that this is Zach was going to have an album and that he's playing at the festival. And I said, now that's newsworthy.
That's newsworthy, yeah.
Yeah. And I think the timing will be right, and I'll do the piece, and it worked out great. So I'm really happy that everybody was happy with that. This week, which was yesterday's deadline, is a homage to Tim Jackson. It's about the festival, but at the same time, Tim and I had the interview and talked a lot about his connections to the artists who were playing at the festival this year.
Nice.
So that's what I focused on in this week's column. And so it's not one of those that you read to find, get all the details. The websites are there. That's the thing. I always have to just have that connection, because I think eventually, all the papers will go online.
Yeah, they will.
The cost of producing a newspaper and the newsprint and all that stuff is become fairly prohibitive for, especially in the paradigm of the dailies, how they've always operated.
There's something to be said about going outside and grabbing the paper, pouring a nice cup of coffee, and just flipping through. Hey, there's a Beth Peerless column.
Yeah. So I've already made the transition. I don't do the newspapers except for if I'm out having a cup of coffee at a restaurant or something. Sure, and thumb through it. But
are you going to be covering the jazz?
Yep. So this weekend I'll be out there all 3 days. We got the new Tim's retiring as the artistic director. So I'll be meeting the new one, Darren Atwater. He's got quite a extensive Vita curriculum thing going on. I can't recite it, but I'll eventually be bringing my information out to the public about him. I know a few other people have done, the original announcement and such. So yeah, so it'll be great. There's going to be some really good music, and it's always
great. Yeah.
a lot of our local people who are our music fans are out there. So it's cool. Definitely.
So this year, I wasn't able to go to the Roots Festival, Cali Roots.
Uh-huh.
I tell you, you covered that from the minute it started to the minute it ended. You had videos, you were talking to people, the bands that you showcased are out of this world. And I'm not kidding. I felt like I was there. So
Cool.
I compliment you for that.
That's good to hear. Thank you so much.
I think there was one band that I kind of liked. I don't know if this is the right name. Was it like Disruption or something something to do
for Disruption?
Something like that. They were
okay. There's Revolution.
Yeah. Well,
because I'm thinking Shun, but
I'll think about them. They weren't really a reggae type. They were more like a kind of a rock and roll, kind of a little punkish type.
Oh, right. And that was and I can't remember the name.
The singer she was standing on top of one of the amps and really, she was good.
Loved that band. They were great. The energy was amazing. They had, of all things, you think the Reggae Fest, everybody's mellow. They're all getting high and whatever. But they got a mosh pit going. There was dueling mosh pits down on the grounds of the main stage area. And I'm, the press, we have a seating up on the side. And so great vantage point for me to take videos. But
it was really good.
Yeah, and that's part of my coverage these days. I figure I might as well put little snippets of the concerts I'm at so that people can hear it and see and go, oh, I should catch that the next time or whatever. Just give them a taste of what they, weren't able to come see. So
yeah, that's great. Also, we've got the great venue of the Golden State Theater that you've covered, and that's great that they got that going and success.
Yeah, I'm curious too. I really love to cover, I have to cover everything in this small space in my column, and that's the thing that's another difficult part of my job now, because I used to be able to have, the Santa Cruz column and then write features on our local events and bands and things. And Mac had his column, but all of that, every single, I don't do Santa Cruz anymore. That's not my beat. I'm not supposed to cover them. But as far as getting all the information about the local bands out there, it's not always easy because we have the whole from top to bottom. And in general, I don't always pay attention to the pyramid kind of thing, but the top of the pyramid is the big names. And then when I have room, I'll include the locals.
Yeah, you've included locals. It's really great. Yeah.
Yeah, but then I love to focus on a local from time to time when I have the chance to do that, so that, I don't want to, I'm trying to spread the love is what I say.
And that's what you do. You spread the love on that.
Yeah.
So that Renegades show coming up, was that used to be the poetry, cowboy poetry, and they changed it around a little bit, or
no, not at all. Actually, the poetry thing's gone by the wayside.
What has okay?
And then the other these two young guys, Ben, and who was prior to the current owners of the Golden State, he was working there. Ben with Lori Lochtfield. And so he managed that for a while. And so he and his buddy were bringing in some country acts to the fairgrounds, Mm-hmm. So they had more of a country little festival, tried to tie it in with the poetry. I think the pandemic is what came on and then wiped that away completely. And he's moved on to something else, and Lori moved on, and now it's a whole new deal. But Rebels and Renegades is the same people who do Cali Roots.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah. So their whole festival paradigm, how they do things, is a basis for how they produce it. Of course, their background now and expertise in it really comes to play. Yeah.
They seem top notch. I mean, everything they do looks like
They know what they're doing
they
and
know
they
what
do a
they're doing.
great job. And that's one of the things that those who have been the writers and observers here locally for a long time, we see even these big production people like Golden Voice will come in and bring in like the First
Yeah,
City Festival. And with that, we get all excited. We're like, all right, we got a new rock festival. This is really cool. But they come on and just boom, this huge festival right off the bat. People, it takes a while. You got to build up to it,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't want to. I never really like to diss the local scene here, but it is kind of sad because it kind of rides on waves. We have these things that are happening, and we get hopeful, and we see a full slate of activities to do, and then something drops out, and then that venue goes away, and
yeah.
always changing, and we musicians are, to find a place to play, it's not easy, especially for a band of certain size and style. I mean, there's the bands that'll play the small restaurant clubs
Yeah.
situations, but we are really sorely lacking that mid-sized listening room kind of venue.
I kind of hope the blues festival gets back going again.
Wouldn't
Kind
that be nice? But
of. Yeah.
doesn't right now they're kind of dead in the water again. So we'll see if they
Well,
resurrect it again.
started a comeback, and then the pandemic came, and then I don't know. But
Yeah,
they did a 1 day show for like a couple years,
right.
and that
And and they were doing that right. They
doing it.
started small, work their way up, but they just
Yeah.
money, it's money, and then pandemic really took away.
Hope it gets going. Yeah.
So anything else you want to talk about?
Yes, I wanted to just for all those deadheads out there, you were friends with the first manager of the Grateful Dead that lived here in Monterey, Rock Scully. So, can you
Yeah.
say a couple things about Rock Scully?
Well, Rock Scully, I'm very grateful at this point. He passed away in 2016, in December 16th, 2016. I know time, it's like, I can't believe it was that long ago. I'm pretty sure that I always kind of space out on the year, but
Flies by, yeah.
I originally met him in 96 when he had his book came out. And I don't know if y'all know Brian Gingrich. You probably do, right? So Brian Gingrich knew him,
Yeah,
some
yeah.
connection, and he was the one initially who introduced me to rock in 96. And then I didn't see rock for years. He was married at the time, but anyway, in 2004, I ran into him down at Sly's because Peter Tork was playing down there. And so rock, having all the friends and background from the San Francisco scene, was there. So anyway, that's when I actually had my second meeting with him. And then his wife had passed away. My mother had just passed away. And so there was, I don't know if there was a connection in regards to that part, but that we actually were a couple for a while. We went out, and then that sort of fizzled, but we stayed friends. Or he came, and then he came back as a result of having to help me with some family issues. And then we just maintained this long-term friendship, and he was always very supportive. And what an interesting guy. He had such an amazing background of not only his time with the Grateful Dead, because that's what most people
Yeah.
remember,
Hmm.
but he was early on the scene, and he went to school in Europe, but he started in Carmel. He was at elementary school in Carmel, but then he also was in school in Europe, and then he came back over to San Francisco State, and that's what got him up into the scene there. And that was right, the timing was right, where he was involved with the people that were the family dog that went on to do all the Avalon ballroom shows and stuff, right? And then it was Owsley, the Acid King, who introduced him to the Grateful Dead. He said, Rock was managing the band The Charlatans, which was one of the early psychedelic bands out of San Francisco. And they had the scene up at the Red Dog Saloon in Virginia City, I think, or is it Nevada City? I always kind of forget. Anyway, that was kind of like the seed, the original sort of psychedelic thing going on. So anyway, Rock got that start, right? He was an early denizen of the Haight-Ashbury scene, and then he became the manager of the Grateful Dead. And of course, we know what kind of lifestyle those guys were leading. It was all kind of crazy. We were all the little, lemmings following them off the cliff, in a sense. But we were having
Thelma and Louise, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Hell of a good time, though. I always think back. It's like, oh, yeah, it sort of slowed down my progress because we were all just having a party and going to music and doing all sorts of things. But I'm really glad that, when I met him, he was sober. He had given it all up.
Yeah.
Way to the no alcohol. Too bad the cigarettes had been so much a part of his life because that was, he had lung cancer, what took him out. So anyway, he was just a really good heart. And I think part of that AA thing that he was involved in was him being of service in the community and to help people who were, in need of it. And so
we're lucky to have him.
We were lucky to have him because he was, he was bona fide celebrity of that scene. And, he introduced me to a lot of people from that whole world. And I also had met this other guy I dated for a while who was a deadhead. So, brought me even, back into that some more. I was never a deadhead myself. I like the Grateful Dead, but I don't follow them around. I never have.
I liked them, but I wasn't,
yeah,
just like you.
I was in the early days. We'd go see him at the Fillmore in Winterland and all that. And that was great. But yeah, at a certain point and then it came back around when I was with Rock. I started, being more attentive and I read all about the 60s. I got all the books because, I was interested again. It was sort of, now it was history, not living it. It was now history and I had to fill in the blanks. So grateful for Rock. And I know a lot of people as well here. And his brother, Dickon Scully, is still a good friend, and his wife is Isabel. Their two children, Phil and Celeste. They're all good friends of mine from the times that when Rock and I were together. So, yeah, that's the Rock Scully story.
Thank you.
Point of view. He's got a lot.
Some people that are tuning in today that never met you, they don't know you, and now they're saying, "I'd like to read her column." Where can they read the column? Is it on the Herald page, or how does that work?
Well, the Herald continues to give some space to the Go section. We used to have a magazine that Mac had edited and put together. The magazine went away a long time ago, and now it's just, we got Barbara Rose Schuler that writes, and a number of other local writers that are in that section. But that's where I could be found, my Where It's At column.
Where It's At. Got it.
It's Thursdays in the Monterey Herald hard copy, but we have an online presence at montereyherald.com. And what you need to do, because a lot of times on that online thing, and I think you generally have to be a subscriber to get access, but they now have this gifting sort of thing where if you're a subscriber, you can gift an article. So I started, because I've always posted my article links up on my Facebook page. So that's the other place people can find my articles is there. And I'm hoping it's okay. I think it's okay. Nobody's saying anything, but I figured out, hey, I'll take this gift option and put it on Facebook.
Yeah, why not?
And so then anybody could read my column, whether you subscribe or not. And I hope that would bring them more business, but it'll definitely get more people be able to read my column. So it's on Facebook. It's my personal page, Beth Peerless. And I usually need to know that person, or they know a lot of my friends before I allow them into my
that's
thing.
good.
Yeah. So anyway, and I keep everything among the friends, nothing's public. So, I think as protection, not only for me, but for everybody else who's in the list. But anyway, that's where you can find it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Beth, we're lucky to have you here in this community, keeping us on abreast of what's going on. And I just thank you for what you do in the community, and thank you for sharing your story and buzzing with cousin.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And the same to you, Buzz. No, Johnny.
Okay.
Cousin Johnny, because you are amplifying our local community and the people involved. And I think that's really cool. Thank you too.
Thank you. And Beth, we'll be looking forward to the next column. Thank
Good.
you.
Keep
Bye.
on. See you later.
Bye. Cousin Johnny back. Beth Peerless, thank you for joining me and buzzing with cousin. You got to read her columns. She's the best. Okay, cousin Johnny out. Everybody have a great day.